Welcome to the App on Board Studio Training Intermediate. Today we're going to do a more complex build that will include a counter, which means the user has different options from within the project. Depending on what options they select, the counter logic will allow the user to experience each of the options available. Let's get started. Leading into this training, we assume that you understand the basic steps of starting a project. As you can see, we have our assets already imported on the left, as well as our scenes created on the right. Please take a moment to review the storyboard and create all the scenes needed for this project. Please also import the assets. For this project, we are going to give the user the ability to select through 3 different songs. The first step is to create a counter scene, which will act as a proxy after a user selects one of the options. Create the counter scene by clicking Add Scene, and let's title it Check Counter. The counter scene will move to End Card once all the options are selected. Now let's start to add the assets to our scenes. Select the splash screen and drag and drop splash.mp4 to your canvas view. Add a transition by hitting the plus sign next to transitions. Select the Move to Scene drop-down and select Chill Playlist. Note the probability is 1, which means 100% of the time, once the video ends, this scene will transition to Chill Playlist. Now let's move on to Chill Playlist. Locate the asset for Chill Playlist and drag and drop it to your canvas view. This asset should loop until the user makes a selection. Click on the Play Video option on the top left and select Looping. This scene has 3 options. Therefore, we will create 3 gesture areas which will direct the user to 3 different scenes. Select the Elements tab on the bottom left. Drag and drop our first gesture to the canvas view. Resize so that it covers the first track. On the right, in the Properties tab, let's retitle this gesture Chill Song 1. Next, let's choose the type of gesture by clicking Add Gesture to Area and selecting Tap. Then we'll add a transition so that after a tap gesture is completed, the scene will move to Chill Song 1. Repeat this step for the other 2 options. Once completed, let's review the path view to make sure that we set this up properly. Click Path View on the top right. Scroll down a bit and let's confirm that when tapping this scene, it will send you to 3 different scenes. Next, let's click the canvas view and add our assets to each of our 3 options. First, let's start with Chill 1. On the bottom left, click the Assets tab and let's drag the Chill 1 MP3 and Chill 1 MP4 to our canvas view. As you can see from the storyboard, we want the song to stop playing on exit of this scene. To do this, on the top left, let's click the Add Action drop-down and select Stop Sound Effect. By default, this is going to be on Enter, but let's change it to on Exit. And then let's select which MP3 we want to stop on exit. Now let's add a transition. After the video and audio ends, this scene should move to check counters. Let's follow these steps again for scene Chill 2 and scene Chill 3. Now let's review the path view to make sure that all of our options are leading to the proper scenes. Notice you can see the tap detail highlighted. After the gesture, it moves to the appropriate scene, and once the video and audio is completed, each scene transitions to check counters. Now let's return to our canvas view to complete the project. Select the End Card scene on the top right, and let's drag and drop the End Card asset to our canvas view. Now let's add our gestures to our End Card. Click the Elements tab on the bottom left, select the Replay button, and drag and drop it to our canvas view. On the Properties tab to the right, click the Go to Scene dropdown and choose Chill Playlist. Now, let's review the path view. As you can see, all of our scenes are connected except for the end card. So let's set up the counter scene. The first thing we need to do is set the counter in each scene. So let's start with the splash screen. Click the splash screen on the top right under Scenes. Click the Add an Action dropdown, scroll down and select Set Counter. And then to the right of that, we're going to click the Counter drop-down menu and select New Counter. Once the pop-up appears, let's enter a name for this counter and we will call it Songs Played. Since we are just creating this counter and there's no songs played in this scene, we will set the value to 0. For each of the scenes with songs, we will increase the value by 1. And the thought process is, once a user listens to 3 songs in any order, you will be transitioned to the end card. Now let's go to each scene with a song and increase the value by 1, starting with Chill 1. Select Chill 1 on the Scenes panel. On the top left, let's click the Add an Action dropdown, scroll down and select Add Value to Counter. Click the Counter dropdown and select the counter Songs Played. The minimum selection is 0, the maximum is 3, and the value for this action is 1. In other words, after this song is played once, the counter will increase by 1. Now, let's repeat these steps for Scene Chill 2 and Scene Chill 3. Now that we've added counters to each of our scenes with audio files, we must now edit our check counter scene. The logic is the user will be directed to Chill Playlist until it reaches 3 songs played, at which point we will move to the end card. Select the check counter scene on the bottom right, and on the top left, let's hit the plus sign next to Add Transitions. Since there's no assets for this scene, let's toggle off After Video. Now let's select the small C icon to add our counter conditionals. Click the plus icon next to counter conditionals. Click the Move Scene drop down and select Chill Playlist. Our probability is 100, which is 1. And then we're going to select the drop down for counter, which is songs played. The conditional is counter less than, and the value is 3. Now let's add a second transition by hitting the plus sign next to transitions. Toggle off the After Video icon because there's no video asset in this scene, and select the C icon again to set another counter conditional. Now let's hit the plus sign next to counter conditional, and then we're going to click the drop down menu next to Move to Scene and select End Card. Our probability is 1 or 100%. Click the counter drop down and select songs played. Click the conditional drop down and select counter equal to. Highlight the values drop down and change it to 3. Now let's review our path view. As you can see, each of our Chill 1, 2, 3 scenes point to the check counter scene, and there's a less than counter that points back to our Chill playlist. Next, we are going to create a back button for our Chill 1, 2, and 3 scenes. Click on Chill 1 scene. Drag and drop a gesture area from the Elements tab to the canvas view. Resize this gesture area to cover the back button. Now on the top right, let's change the name of this back button. Let's call it Chill Song 1 Back Button. Next, click Add Gesture Area below and select Tap. Then add a transition from this scene, Chill 1, to the check counter scene. Let's repeat these steps for Scene Chill 2 and Scene Chill 3. Both of their back buttons should also transition to the check counter scene. Now let's review the path view. As you can see, All of our scenes lead to the check counter, and after 3 values, the check counter will send users to the end card. Our last step is to highlight the check counter scene, click Properties, and make sure this scene is selected as Logic Only. You've now completed your intermediate build in App on Board Studio.